he puts his arm through my throat.
It keeps it nice and warm. Matt's throat keeps it nice and warm.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker on this June 1st, 2022. Yes, we've made it to June, the halfway mark. We're 2 weeks away from our anniversary show. And so, but before we get too much further, I just want to say our client for today is gun control is fun control.
Behold, trapped in a hellscape of their own invention, socially unaware old white men bound by the pretense of being fake lawyers yet knowing no law, no exquisite Latin terminology, they are inexplicably compelled to quibble over minutia, squabble over triflings, and bicker like those who value their backyards far too highly without even knowing the difference between an easement and an alleyway. At this very moment, you have entered the heart of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Let's get started.
On June 15th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and airing live exclusively on YouTube, the Step Up to the Bar Association Legal Conference and Awards Banquet will host the second annual Quibbly Awards. Coveted by celebrities and common folk alike, the Quibblys are unusual in that they are TFTs, totally fungible tokens, so anyone can do whatever they want to them. There's no naked Uncle Oscar, no science fiction Emmy, no golden globulars, only Lady Justice peeking through her blindfold and a name on a virtual certificate. Brendan Haggerty, Greg Pettix, and Matt Parashi, the beloved triumvirate of the celebrated podcast, Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker, will be the MCs. Many words will be used, but none can predict exactly what those words will be. So remember, Wednesday, June 15th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube. Come out for the second annual Quibbly Awards.
Are number one in my book.
Well, I'm speechless and I'm also disappointed.
I haven't had this much excitement since I was named Miss Warsaw.
And I appreciate the fact that you guys find me the best anything.
Our fake sponsor for today is the Quibbly Awards. Which, Brendan, you've muted yourself.
That's a real sponsor.
We don't know what you've said, Brendan.
Nothing.
They're not giving us money, but it's a real sponsor. It's real.
Well, we're sponsoring ourselves. Or no, it's a Step Up to the Bar Association.
It's a Step Up to the Bar Association. We've all been associated.
Yes, it's a real thing.
Legal conference and awards banquet. I hope people will bring their lunches. It's not like
cheese being on sale at Safe Mart.
Well, we have some of those processed turkey ovals with gravy.
Processed turkey ovals?
Yeah, you know, when you go to the conference, there'll be that one tray and you open it and it's like these, like somebody thick cut lunch meat and put it in there with gravy on it. You've never been to one of those?
No, but I think that thick cut lunch meat was an old nickname of mine at one point.
Thick cut lunch meat. That should be the name of one of the awards. And the thick cut lunch meat award goes to...
Yeah, and there will not be any Waspy Soda Pop for the next couple of weeks as we prepare for the show. He's going to have to get some things in the hopper for whenever we restart, because we're going to have a whole new season. We'll start season 5 when we come back from the award show break.
And here's a little teaser. Waspy Soda Pop's Hispanic cousin will probably be popping up.
Oh,
so Matt can...
What is his Hispanic cousin's name?
I don't know what wasp is in Hispanic.
El Orneto Horchata. I think that's what his name will be. Tamarindo Mexicali. I don't know, but it could be anything, I suppose. All right, well, let's just get into it. So, gun control is fun control. That is our client, and this could certainly get us banned from any number of social media outlets where we might just be stuck finally on just podcasting platforms. But I think we get things
real quick, Matt.
Sure.
I just say, some might say there's the argument that like, oh, you're exploitive. There was a gun shooting. You shouldn't be talking about this so close to the events, but they keep happening. So we have no choice. If you want to talk about gun control, you got to talk about sometime.
What are you talking about? Why would anybody say that? Why would they say that we're exploiting it?
People do all the time.
They say that we're exploiting it?
Especially Republicans. They say when oh, you're bringing up gun control now because there was a shooting. Let's just give thoughts and prayers. Let's not talk about, substantive correcting the holes we have in our gun laws. It's like that you're taking advantage of the situation. It's like, well, sorry, there's no chance in America. Every 3 days there's a fucking horrible shooting. So you got to talk about it sometime.
But what's that got to do with us talking about it? We'll talk about things whenever we want to talk about things.
I know, but I just want people to know we're not bringing this up just because in 1 week there's 2 horrible shootings.
No, that's exactly why we're bringing it up, Greg. Yes, we are. We're bringing up gun control now because there were just shootings.
Every week there's 2 shootings.
How ideas happen, how things make progress in this world is through exploiting situations with ideas. Otherwise,
that does help sometimes. Like, did you hear, Brendan? Canada's banned guns this week.
Yeah, let's talk about banning guns. Why wouldn't we talk about banning guns when they're dead
Canada
laying on the ground?
It's supposed to be like England now or Sweden. They're like just hunting rifles. We're done with guns in Canada, even though they haven't had shootings.
Trudeau is a robot. He is a robot who is controlled from The Hague or something. He's not a real human. I'm telling you. I don't know how anyone does blackface, not once, but twice, with photographic evidence. No one seems to care.
Well, it's also Canada, so I think it's different.
Yeah,
it's got a different sensibility than here in the United States in terms of how visceral it becomes when somebody does blackface.
So if Ryan Reynolds raped a girl and Canada didn't care, no one else would care either?
Well,
because he's Canadian. Oh, it's a Canadian
I think people care here
that
he did it. But I'm saying in Canada, it's not as visceral of an issue as it is here.
That's because there's no black people up there.
Exactly.
So they don't really get a vote.
There was no slavery.
All right, fine. So then you agree with me that it makes sense.
It totally makes sense. I'm telling Greg he's crazy.
Well, we could both agree on that, too.
The time to jump on these things is when there's a situation. And if someone is saying, well, you're being exploitive, all they're really saying is, can you please just shut the fuck up? Because that's all they're really saying.
Yeah, Greg.
The idea that...
Greg, I'm saying they never stop. So there's no other time to talk about it. It's always
wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if this was the first time
matter.
a year. I would want to talk
this is a
about
major
it.
This is an extra special Bicker edition of our show.
This is a major talking point of many pro-gun lobbyists Republicans. They bring that up on Fox News. They'll be like,
but they're not bringing it up on our show, so why would you even bring it up? Who gives a shit?
People listen to us.
What people are saying this about anything that we talk about, Greg? Who of our audience is having complaints about us taking issues and being topical? Who? They might, but who is doing it? Who's actually doing it?
My sister, who I know better than you.
Yes.
This is an argument about her. All I want to say is, for the record, just so we're all clear, I am 100% pro-gun.
I know you are.
He wants guns to have full rights, that they can get their own water supply, that they can take their children to schools.
They can vote.
Exactly.
One vote for every gun you have in your house.
Every gun gets a vote.
One gun, one vote.
All right, so I did find a list of things that we can discuss regarding gun control. So this is more on the anti-gun control lobby. These are their points of view. So gun control laws will not prevent criminals from obtaining guns or breaking laws. Gun control laws give too much power to the government and may result in government tyranny and the government taking away all guns from citizens. Gun control laws such as background checks and microstamping are an invasion of privacy. More gun control is unnecessary because relatively few people are killed by guns. However, they're all generally killed by bullets. And so this is my solution to gun control, because this is not affected by the Constitution of the United States. Outlaw ammunition. No one's allowed to have bullets, but they can have all the weapons they want.
Well, that would appease the other side, though.
They can have tanks, rocket launchers, nuclear bombs, but nothing that arms any of them.
Without the uranium. They can have a nuclear bomb, but no uranium.
If they can find their own uranium and not get radiation, they can bomb whoever the hell they want. But
I could make a bullet.
Could you?
Yeah.
You got to supply a bat guano around to handle your gunpowder?
Well, I mean, if I had some old bullet parts, I could put it together. I wouldn't
Old
say
bullet
that,
parts?
Yeah.
That was your 1800s gold prospector name, wasn't it?
Old bullet parts?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that old bullet parts Haggerty was around making that stew of his. God damn it. Bastard.
He made really good beans, too. You should try beans sometime.
Bullet stew. It was horrible.
That's a waspy soda pop.
Yeah, I should write that recipe down for waspy and send it to him. Bullet stew.
Yeah, it's like extra chunky today.
How?
So
I think I broke a tooth.
Okay, can I first attack that first argument, which is just, it's always the whole thing. Like, yeah, criminals will always get guns. It's a criminal thing. If we outlaw guns, criminals will get them.
They do.
But most murders in the world's history are usually just like, it's not like these like guys with like criminal hats on and masks, or like guys in striped shirts who are like, I'm a criminal. So many murders happen just 'cause guys like you and me have a bad day. We have a gun. We come home. Our wife's fucking the neighbor, and it makes it so easy to just murder them. So many murders. They say the majority of murders are between people who know each other, family members.
So if they're having sex with a neighbor, I think it may depend upon which neighbor they're also having sex with. Like, I think certain neighbors would probably cause more of an upset than other neighbors if they found like the wife was having sex with them.
But it might make you just so angry that you'll be like, I would, if I didn't have a gun, I'd punch the guy. But a gun makes it so easy to murder them. It's just like, I've just lost my head. I have a gun. Fuck. My fucking wife is cheating on me. Bam.
Yeah.
That's what most murders...
These are two different arguments, however. So there's argument A, which is guns in the hands of people who have completely lost their mind or momentarily lost their mind kill people.
Like
That's
us.
one argument.
That could be us.
Well, I got it. We don't, yeah. The second part is if you did something about guns, then bad people could still get guns, and that's true as well. No matter how much gun control they put in, a bad guy could still get a gun if he wants.
Yes.
But what your point is that Joe Blow isn't a bad guy necessarily, or isn't on a list, but he might be able to buy a gun and therefore be in a haunted house.
Yes, and then kill someone in a haunted house.
Yes, but the point is, gun control doesn't solve any problems relative to criminal activities with guns. You're not going to slow armed robberies down with gun control. That's true, and I agree with that 100%.
Why do other countries have so few less murders than we do?
Because their culture is not as fucking terrified of everything as ours is.
And I think also
we're
Americans
scared shitless.
I think it's our Puritan origins, the repressed fucking American nature. It's not necessarily the guns. We're just fucking psychos. We invented serial killing. Basically every serial killer was American for a long time.
You mean like after Jack the Ripper?
There was a lot of other
after Jack the Ripper, right? Sorry,
but we certainly turned it into a profitable, franchisable business.
Yeah.
Whereas other people did. But the truth is, you're right. Americans are crazy. So arguing about gun control, like one of the things the pro-gun control people will say, well, look, they have gun control in Canada, and
they're not murdering each other.
And they're not murdering each other. That way, cause equals effect. But no, Canada they're the nicest people you could ever. They're not going to murder anybody because they're not crazy. The problem we're not talking about is Americans are fucking nuts.
So do you think Americans, we should have knife control and hammer? Anything that's a murdering weapon, we shouldn't be able to own.
Well, they have banned lawn darts from common usage.
Well, that was just accidents.
But so if they can ban lawn darts from accidental killings or maimings or poachings or whatever,
that's a good point, man.
You would think that something that's a little more
deadly,
fatal, then lawn darts could have some more control on it as well.
Hey, my friend Cletus died of a lawn dart. Don't disrespect the dart.
Wait a second,
that's
I'm
my
part of
point,
the-
though. They banned lawn darts, but they're not banning things that are killing people in much higher quantities than lawn darts.
I guys to go to my Facebook page, LRA, the Lawn Darts Association.
That would be LDA, Greg.
Thank you, the LDA. Where I feel I have the right to use lawn darts, and my children should, even if they're 5. And I'm fighting for these rights. I'm lobbying Congress. So
I want to use lawn darts on my children. I want them to run around in the yard, and I want to throw lawn darts at them, and I want to be free to do that.
So the problem that we run into in terms of like regulating these things is specifically the Second Amendment of the Constitution, which is kind of an interesting wording. You know, the Second Amendment talks about a well-regulated militia and that the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, it doesn't say what arms you can own. It just says bearing them shall not be infringed. So it's like there's a lot of wiggle room in that particular amendment to the Constitution.
Isn't the well-regulated militia pretty much a big thing, though, of it? Like, no, none of these guys are a well-regulated militia except the Nazis in Eastern Oregon.
Yeah,
You know,
but
like-
the other thing was that back when James Madison essentially wrote the Second Amendment, it was more for the purpose of the United States not having to have a standing army. That's why they wanted people to be able to bear arms, so they could be put together quickly to deal with foreign invaders and what have you, and not have to pay for an army, which obviously changed somewhere along the line.
But you know what Thomas Jefferson always talked about? Like, the big thing we have to worry about is the government might become bad, and you have every right to, if our government becomes tyranny, you have the right to overthrow it. Jefferson would say things like that. Like if we fuck up.
Well, all the founding fathers had their own things to say about many things, which is why they had fistfights a lot.
But maybe that's part of it, where it's just like, we want everyone to have guns in case the government becomes tyrannical. We want people to be able to fight back against the tyrannical government.
I don't think they ever really had that in mind about the United States government. They had that in mind regarding the British government.
No. Jefferson said, like, there's some line, I wish I could quote it better, where he's like, if we become, if the government becomes, you have every right to rise up and get rid of that government because they're not following what we wanted. Like, they're now the tyrants, and that's kind of where we're living now. I think. I don't think the government gives a fuck about me. I'm not going to rise up and get a gun and fight them, but because I'm a pussy. But I think Thomas Jefferson said a lot of things about that. Like, it's Americans, if we become tyrannical, you should rise up.
And a lot of people disagree with Thomas Jefferson. John Adams was one of them who disagreed with Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson was the best of the founding fathers.
He was better than George Washington?
Well, other than the fucking slaves, but he really wanted to have the most freedoms. He was the one that forced the Bill of Rights on. A lot of people were like, we don't want a Bill of Rights. We just want to set up this nice thing where we won't be taxed by England. We'll be the guys who tax people. And he was like, no, this is a new thing we can start. Bill of Rights, everyone can say what they want. And that's why I still am a patriot.
To those of you turning in, this is our rendition of Drunk History with Craig.
It is. But it's true.
I know, he was like talking about a Petri dish, and I don't even know what the hell he was talking about there.
I never said a Petri dish. I never mentioned a Petri dish. You heard me wrong.
I'm positive you said Petri something.
Of course I was slurring.
Was it Rob Petrie from the Dick Van Dyke Show? Was that what you were talking about?
Yes! He represents the true American.
Dick Van Dyke was a direct descendant of Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
Yes.
And only 100 years too late.
So. And Mary Tyler Moore was actually a very light-skinned black slave.
Did you know that Dick Van Dyke is still alive? And he's married to a woman who's like 40 years younger than him.
Good for him.
I literally saw this a few weeks ago, and it had he had a picture of him. He's driving, which I think is frightening, which is a whole another topic. he's walking out to his car, and the paparazzi are taking pictures, and he's like, fuck off. And then he's getting in his car, and then I'm like, what? He's still alive? And then I saw the woman he's married to, and she's what, like 30 years younger, more?
No, he's 90 something and she's in her 50s.
So 40 years, but I don't know, when you get to that age, well, no, 90 is old.
It is.
90 is old.
It's like, apparently she has an interest in gun control. So, to continue with the opposing side.
His gun is under
Good segue, man. Good segue.
Here's a good one. Strict gun control laws do not work in Mexico and will not work in the United States. Gun control laws are racist. Gun control laws would prevent citizens from protecting themselves from foreign invaders. More gun control is not needed. Education about guns and gun safety is needed to prevent accidental gun deaths. Gun control laws and lower gun ownership rates do not prevent suicide. So there's some things to address.
Ooh, so
suicide's pretty easy. You don't need a gun to commit suicide. I mean, I could do it right now.
It's easier to commit suicide with a gun, though.
Sure, but
it's probably quicker than slicing your wrists. Or
are we really talking about like suicide prevention? We're talking about keeping psychotic fucks from going into schools or restaurants and murdering 20 people. That's what we're talking.
Yeah.
So if any conservative thinks he's going to fight off an invading army with his fucking Glock, he's a fucking idiot.
Well, he has all of his friends who have their Glocks too.
You could put 100 Glocks against a tank; they're fucking all gonna die. Not to mention, they're all a bunch of shit shooters, and they'd be like, "Oh, they wouldn't shoot anyway." Anyway, a
lot of those guys are former military too, so they know how to use those weapons.
If they're former military, yeah, but I bet you the majority. But anyway, we're off topic. The point is, that's what we're talking about. So a lot of this other stuff doesn't really have any bearing on. As a person who thinks I should be able to own a gun, I should be able to own multiple guns and bullets. If I want to go down to the range and shoot guns and bullets, I should be able to do that. I should be able to have a rifle if I want, or a shotgun. I don't need an AK-47. There is no reason in hell that I would ever need if you need an AK to go hunting, you should really take up another hobby.
But if it's a hobby, but you're saying going to a gun range and using any weapons, so that would include like an AK-47 or whatever the number of those things
if it was at the gun range, like if I had to go to this place and say, prove a point, pay a tax, whatever, and then I could shoot it at a target, but you shouldn't be able to buy them.
But how do you differentiate between laws for those and laws for other weapons?
Well, no semi-automatic weapons.
What do you mean? We have laws. We have laws on the books right now about various different types of weapons. Like, you used to be able to own a handgun that had more than 9 bullets in it, which is standard. They outlawed those multi-capacity single shooter, clips. The clips in a handgun, they can't be more than 9. So there already are laws on the books that say a gun that carries 15 bullets that is not as good as, or it shouldn't be allowed. So they already have laws like that. Because I actually have a gun that has a big clip, and it's against the law.
So you have a gun that's you have an illegal gun, is what you're saying?
Uh-huh.
Well, welcome any law enforcement. We can tell you exactly where to find Brenda.
Get me.
He's in Florida. He'll be in Florida for at least another 3 years.
I bought it when they were legal, and as far as I'm concerned,
Brendan lives in Miami.
It's got a grandfather clause for illegal weapons.
He owns a reggaeton club.
I think if you turn in your gun, Brendan, you can at least get 5 clean syringes back for it.
Is that going right now?
I'm going to need more than 5. God damn it.
And will it give some toys to tots or something? Is that how it works?
Yes.
Turn in your gun, kids get toys.
And you get 5 syringes. Clean syringes.
How about I turn in the gun, I get a happy ending? That could be something I'm looking forward. That may come up.
5 clean syringes, 10 used ones.
You guys ever wondered though, like what started this? Like why all of a sudden, like it became a trend? It's almost like when New Jack Swing came out. It's like why all of a sudden people want to hear this? Why all of a sudden was it like cool to go like, I'm a disaffected youth, I'm gonna kill?
Wait, let's back up a second. what the hell is New Jack Swing, Greg?
You don't know that?
I always like when I ask a question that I don't know, Greg has to say, "You don't know that?" As if I'm a trove of all information for humanity.
Because sometimes your ignorance surprises me. I'm sorry. It was a major musical genre in the late 80s.
New Jack Swing.
Yeah, it was like all that lame, like kind of, how do you describe it? Like Boys to Men shit, like late 80s, early 90s. Sorry, forget I mentioned New Jack Swing.
I can't forget it, Greg, because I want you to define it. Especially since you said I'm ignorant for not knowing it.
What it is. I still don't know what, power emo is and screamo. There's so many genres of music.
Critical race theory.
But you specifically brought out New Jack Swing like you knew what it was.
Thing at one time. So
I don't remember New Jack Swing.
What turned a switch?
Apparently, you're just as ignorant as I am, Brendan.
What turned a switch in thousands of American heads? It's like, hey, I'm sad.
Apparently, New Jack Swing is what did it.
I'm gonna go to a school.
I've listened to Boys to Men, and
he's totally like dodging this question, Brendan. He's like refusing to answer it.
It's an idiotic question.
It's not an idiotic question. You brought it up. We don't know what it is. So tell us what it is. It's not an idiotic question. It was an idiotic reference to bring up something you don't know what the hell it is.
Let's say emo. I'm not even sure how to describe New Jack Swing. It's basically like shitty soul pop music, like Boys to Men, Milli Vanilli, that shit. But
okay. Shitty
whatever it is, it's like what Americans.
I think you're just a racist, Greg, and you don't like the kind of music because of the people who sing it. That's what I think it is.
I love rhythm and blues music. I love 50s black music a lot.
Yeah.
More than
that's like saying I've got a friend who's black, Greg. I get you.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
and his name is Little Richard.
They were singing for a place where they knew their place where it was. Yeah. That's what we're talking about. Isn't that what you're really saying? I like that Uncle Tom music back in the day.
I hate you guys so much right now. I wish I could strangle you through the. But what I want to say is, like, don't you guys ever wonder, like, why of all the countries, America's very prosperous. There's no reason to be violent. I mean, if you're in like fucking Africa, like in Liberia, where everyone's starving and they're fighting each other, yeah, you're going to be violent. America's got this prosperous. It's been prosperous for like 100, 200 years. Why are we killing each other?
Okay.
Why did it start? Why did school shooting start?
Why are we killing each other?
Because
is this like a We're the World thing you want to start?
America is
a song, a benefit song,
and it's only getting crazier. Because
I know, but why? What's your theory?
I'm gonna explain it to you. Just
please do. But please explain New Jack Swing while you're at it.
And I'll explain what that is in just a second. But here's my theory. I think it'll hold up. So Americans are batshit crazy inherently, deep down, for all kinds of reasons. Like you brought up, all kinds of reasons. Slavery, all kinds of things. Crazy people. Now, but they kind of kept that on the down low. But inside they're crazy. And then they'd get together and they'd be crazy in small groups, right? And so then, because we were so smart, we figured out a way to just connect all the crazy people together. And we just keep increasing the numbers and ways that crazy people can talk to other crazy people. And what that does is like tuning forks. It gets all the crazy people just all buzzed up, and then everybody seems crazy.
But wasn't Columbine before?
So you gotta delete Facebook. You gotta delete Twitter.
Wasn't Columbine before that though, Brendan? Wasn't the Columbine before like social media was a thing?
Yes.
No, I'm saying yes, it was, but back then
that started it.
I know, but what I'm saying is Columbine was 24-hour TV. It was 24-hour TV. It was, music videos and TV all the time. And I mean, to a certain extent, and I love video games. Video games, they were just kids just, doing whatever and fucking just, and then talking to each other about, you killed that guy I got to the boss level. And it's just, and pretty soon everybody's bananas. And then somebody goes, hey, you know what?
But why is it only an American phenomenon? Because there's a lot of that across the globe that's going on.
Well, serial killing was an American phenomenon. We're fucked up.
Because I think we're inherently crazy in a different way. Like, if you go to wherever, Somalia, they're fucking bananas over there in a whole different way, right? They're driving with town jeeps.
Yeah, like child soldiers.
Yeah, they're snorting coke and gunpowder. I mean, there's a whole nother crazy over in other parts of the country.
They're snorting coke and gunpowder.
They're doing Jenkum over there.
They're Jenkum kids. That's one of the new.
If anything ever came out of that one particular interview with that one guy, it was Jenkum.
I like Jenkum kids. That's my next band.
Kids.
The
No, I was
Jenkum
gonna
kids.
say that's a hip hop boy band that's coming out of Somalia next year.
It's New Jenkum Swing.
Boys. New Jenkum Swing. The whole thing, man. You got to get with it.
So I'm gonna regress to New Jack Swing. So New Jack Swing describes the sound produced and engineered by producer Teddy Riley, who was an R&B and hip-hop singer and songwriter, musician, and record producer. He defined New Jack Swing as a new kid on the block who's swinging it. So the defining feature of his music was introduction of swing beats, a rhythmic pattern often using offbeat accented 16th note triplets. He was the king of New Jack Swing because he invented it. So
Daddy, make it up. It's true.
No, I know you didn't make it up. I just didn't know what the hell it was, and but they don't mention.
I was going to say, does it give any references to like bands that you could go listen to that are
New Kids on the Block?
Bobby Brown was somebody who
Bobby
did
Brown.
New Jack Swing. Soul to Soul.
Yeah.
And Will Smith apparently danced to that song in a Fresh Prince thingy. Let's see, Rump Shaker, Kid and Play.
Kid and Play? I know Kid and Play.
And there was a movie, New
Shaker.
Jack City. All right, I remember the movie New Jack
And
City.
New Jack
Maybe
City.
so that was part of that, huh?
No,
So-
I don't think that had anything to do with it.
Keith
Did it?
Sweat did I Want Her as a New Jack Swing song.
I want her.
Paula
So
Abdul.
basically-
Apparently, Paula Abdul straight up is like a New Jack Swing song.
And these are all produced by that guy? Like it's a genre.
Not all of
one-
them, but he was responsible
Oh.
for it. Tony, Tony, Tony. Remember them?
I believe it's Tony Tony.
Tony this.
I was just starting to groove in the back of my mind to the Paula Abdul song.
That's a good song. I like Straight Up.
I Want to Sex You Up from Color Me Bad would be a New Jack Swing song. Boys to Men, Motown Philly, to give Greg some credit.
How is Motown Philly fit anywhere in what they describe as New Jack Swing?
I don't. I'd have to listen
It's
to
a-
these songs to listen to what defines them.
It's
You really
acapella.
want to do that, Matt?
No,
You don't have to.
I don't
Boys to
want to.
Men are acapella. There's no music behind them.
No, they're not all acapella.
Well, yeah, they have music.
They have music.
Not much.
They're not straight a cappella.
They harmonize, but
Yeah, but they had music. They had people playing instruments.
Okay, but like mostly it's those guys harmonizing the bass. Yeah, so there's probably a backbeat, a fucking cello or whatever. But it's how can you describe that as New Jack Swing? That's a stretch.
I don't know, because I just learned about New Jack Swing a few minutes ago. And so I really couldn't get involed in that
Yeah,
conversation very
how
well.
did-
Next week, I think we should do a whole segment on New Jack Swing.
We're gonna dive deep into New Jack Swing.
Why are bands used to call themselves like 10 years ago Power Violets? I still don't know what that fucking
Power Violets.
That was a genre of music amongst
Power Violets?
youngsters that I knew, and I'd be like, "What are you talking about?" Oh, I like Power Violets.
Power
And stuff like-
Violence. I think you said
There's so many-
violets like the flower.
I still don't know what
violence.
the fuck he's talking about.
But there's so many.
Some
Speaking of violence,
subgenre.
let's get back to gun control. Look at that! I can do segues too.
That was an amazing segue. Power gun control violets.
So my thing with gun control is that I know I have many friends who love shooting guns, and I'm kind of a libertarian where like as long as you're not hurting anyone,
Yeah.
you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want to do. But the thing is, it's like even people who are very nice and aren't gonna hurt anyone, they might one day. They might be like, I had a really fucking bad day, and my neighbor's pissing me off
Oh, you just want a new world order, is what you're
so
saying.
bad.
Yeah, what are you gonna do
No, I
about
don't want a
that?
new world
How-
order.
How
I'm
are you
saying-
gonna legislate, lobby, control people from being bananas? You're not.
No, you can't. That's what I'm saying. But guns make it so easy to become like oh, I can.
Yeah, but so does handcuffing. So we should just handcuff everybody too.
No. If we didn't have guns, it's like, oh, I have a bad day. I could maybe stab a couple of my neighbors before they catch me. But if I have an AK-47, I could take out this whole apartment complex or half of them before the cops get me.
But see, again, we're talking about a type of gun versus guns in general.
Exactly, but they are very available.
I think a lot of Trump voting guys and girls who love their guns and go to the Tampa Gun Show, which is next weekend.
They got the loophole.
They would agree that those kind of automatic weapons should be better regulated, and they should certainly not be available to people who have any kind of, obviously, things on their record. There's ways we can solve the problem that embraces the fact that people should be able to own guns as long as they aren't hurting anybody.
For a second there, I thought you said they shouldn't be connected to anybody who likes Michael Bolton.
Yeah, and if they like Michael Bolton, then they should be shot with an AK-47 or an Uzi or something.
For all you Michael Bolton fans out there.
I don't know if you knew this, that Michael Bolton was a part of the new Steve Rumba, which was it was sort of a side project from New Jack Swing. The new Steve Rumba. It was kind of a Latin sort of mixed with a slightly racist white guy vibe, like they didn't say taco, they said taco.
But he always wore his ball cap to the side and slightly perched on his head, but not all the way down.
Right. Maybe the shirt was buttoned all the way up, but wasn't super cholo. Yeah, exactly.
But he was a big fan of Four Loko.
He was a big fan of Four Loko.
I used to be a fan of Four Loko.
What happened, Greg?
Well, I got tired of being nauseous. But I don't like
they
beer.
took the caffeine. They took the caffeine out.
Yeah,
that was where it went sideways.
But I don't like the taste of beer. So at a Circle K or a Plaid Pantry, you can't get liquor. So I'd be like, oh, I get this watermelon flavored beer.
I need to learn about these laws. I'm getting a little worried.
Yeah, you're
worried about the alcohol laws in Oregon? Listen, if Greg is able to be fully intoxicated every time we do a show, Brendan, I don't think you have to worry about it.
But I'm not gonna buy bourbon whiskey. I'm not gonna do that. That's so
This is a state where you gotta plan ahead to be an alcoholic. You gotta be very good.
Like they don't. Is it like a blue state?
No.
What thing?
No, it's just remember the ABC stores in Virginia, Brendan.
Sure, so
it's basically like that.
Stores.
Yeah, but here they're not government. They're not government stores. They're privately owned stores. But
what I'm saying is you've got liquor stores.
Yeah.
And then you've got beer and wine you can buy in the supermarket.
Yeah, that's
or
7-Eleven.
At the 7-Eleven,
yeah.
Right? But you got to go to a liquor store if you want a gallon of vodka or whatever.
If you want to booze it up, yeah.
And
I don't know if they at the 7-Elevens do they lock the things down at midnight still?
I think they lock them down at 9 or something.
9?
Oh, that early? No,
because that's when the liquor stores close.
No, I think for beer and wine, I think it's open. You can buy it later than 9. I think you can buy it up to midnight. I think, but I don't know. I haven't bought alcohol from a 7-Eleven ever.
And you know what's weird too? At the liquor stores, you can't buy beer and wine. So the liquor stores don't sell beer and wine.
Oh, interesting.
Well, that's nice. That's nice of them. They do here. You can't buy liquor. You can't buy liquor in a grocery store. But if you go to a liquor store, you can buy whatever the hell you want.
But the question is, Greg, can you buy horchata at the liquor store?
I know they sell Diet Pepsi, mixers. They sell Pepsi or Coke.
So
mixers.
That is not my question. I did not ask about Diet Pepsi. I asked about horchata.
I'm saying horchata is a mixer for rum, but we don't have that many Hispanic people here, so.
All right, fine.
No, nobody sells horchata.
So the reason I'm starting to understand something here, Greg. The reason that you buy bourbon flavored wine is because that's what they sell at the grocery store and 7-Eleven, and you can't get to the liquor store.
I can get to a liquor store, but I've been trying to slow down my intake. So it's 21% alcohol as opposed to 60% alcohol.
Because you also don't like beer at all.
I don't like beer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Then I totally understand, because I was going to say,
Yeah.
well, why don't you just go get some beer and not worry about making fucking cocktails?
I don't like beer. I never liked beer. I tried to make myself.
So you're like the antithesis of Brett Kavanaugh.
I never boofed.
What?
I don't know if I boofed. I should have drinking my fair share of beer, but I don't know that I boofed.
Boof is, I think, that Brett Kavanaugh thing during his choir. He was like, I think it's like where you.
Yeah, a lot of good that did.
Ass and you drink it out of the asshole. It's some weird drinking game.
Oh no! So when Brendan grabs that beer, he puts his arm through my throat.
It keeps it nice and warm. Matt's throat keeps it nice and warm. Can I do anything to that?
I know what's going in the beginning of this episode for whenever I edit it.
It's so weird that it's the
I
other
can't reach
way.
Matt.
You know what I mean? No. Only I can reach Matt.
It's just a matter of the correct angle, Greg, I think. You know,
Yeah,
his arm just goes into my throat and
Yeah,
my
I go
chest.
behind.
I can lean way back and be like little Brendan with Matt.
Little tiny people. I can make you guys my nipples again if I want to. There you go, Greg.
There, now you got it.
Cleaning out my ear.
Wow, this is quality stuff. For those of you listening at home, it doesn't make any sense.
For those of you who are not watching this on YouTube and are only hearing this in podcasting platforms, we apologize because we do air this on YouTube and visually on Spotify as well. And we do send this out to the podcast and the audio platform. So sometimes what we say won't make sense without the visual. So, you know, if you have those questions, when you get home, go turn on YouTube or do it if you're in a bathroom. That's probably the best place, really.
So I think basically
send us an email at our website.
The conclusion here is that even if we had like really strict gun control, Americans would still have a pretty high murder rate. We'd figure out other ways like lawnmowers.
Yes.
Lawn darts.
Lawnmowers. Look, I live in Florida. They try to kill people with chicken nuggets and tartar sauce. I mean, people will find out ways to kill people.
I want to hear that story. So how is this like rocket launched chicken nuggets or something, or how does that work?
Oh no! This woman took a one of those cookie trays that was full of the hot chicken nuggets and slammed it into her husband's face.
Oh,
Did
nice.
she intend to kill him? I don't know.
But could she do that to an entire elementary school?
No.
Well,
no,
that's
of course
sad.
Not.
Well, that's just too bad.
And that's why we have a certain set of guns.
Yeah.
With, to your point, a certain set of bullets that you just go, no, you can't own those. If you want to go shoot one of those things because you just got a hard on to do it because you played Call of Duty, fine. You go to this guy, licensed guy, and you can shoot that thing all day long for it.
I think it's kind of weirder though. Like Columbine, it was like I was a disaffected, depressed youth, and I hated some kids at school. So if I was a psycho, I might want to be like, I'm going to my high school and killing those fuckers who bully me and fuck with me. But now it's getting to the point where like weird guys are just going to schools they never even went to. It's like, I'm going to kill complete strangers.
Well, I mean, they're killing elementary school kids, Greg. So obviously, they didn't go to school with those
kids have killed elementary school kids. That's some of the shootings have been 12-year-olds shooting their fellow 12-year-olds.
So,
in like 6th grade. But
what I'm hearing, Greg, is that the Columbine guys, while psychotic, are better than these new guys. These
they at least
fucking
had a reason. Like,
they had a reason. Those fucking people fucked with them, and I get that.
Like if you saw Death Wish,
I do too.
Like Death Wish, Charles Bronson, he killed the people who raped it and killed his wife.
And I think honestly, those boys had only handguns and shotguns. I do not think they had anything automatic at all.
No,
they had AK-47. Yeah. They had shotguns. They did it like real men in Colorado.
But it was an
real psychotic
narrative.
Oh, real psychotic men who liked Marilyn Manson and The Matrix, and who doesn't? But these guys took it too far. The problem is, I don't think they do enough drugs these days, or something.
They're all the product of all of the guys who did drugs in the 70s and the 80s. And
my kids are all
the
just
children.
Fine. Thank you very much.
Till
Brendan,
they snap.
Do your kids smoke pot, Brendan?
One of them does.
And he's probably the least likely to murder anyone.
Definitely.
Pot is like, yeah, if everyone smoked pot, nobody would be murdering anyone. I don't smoke pot myself.
So you're saying you're going to murder someone?
No.
Well,
I thought that's where your logic was going.
No, I'm extremely ethical.
If it ever crosses your mind, if you ever go, you know what, those guys at Burger Town or whatever it is, they're pissing me off. I'm going to go shoot the shit out of them. You know, I am sure in Oregon there's a dispensary on every corner. Go do that before you go get the gun. Start with that, and if you're still wanting to shoot somebody after that, you know, call an expert.
It makes you wonder, like, how angry or how disconnected from reality these people are, because it's an entire process to get the weapons, to get the ammunition, to load them up, to sit there and do it, to make the plan, to go to the school, to then walk through the door, to then pull the trigger. Like, you've got to stay so agitated that entire time, or you're very, very dissociated from.
I think it's mostly that. I think it's mostly a dissociation than it is like they're that angry. Because you go, well, really, what the fuck was wrong with Trevor? Was he kept in a closet all his life and beaten by his dad? No. You know, he had a relatively nice life or whatever. You know, everybody's got shit. No, I think they disassociate, and you know, not to be an old, you know, Luddite or something. I really think the influence of technology and screens and podcasts and YouTube and 24-hour TV and social media. I know that's not even because I'm in the industry. I know that shit is engineered to fuck with people's minds. And we've never done it at this scale. Ever.
Disclaimer, the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker disassociate ourselves from anybody listening who chooses to go shoot up an elementary school, a middle school, a high school, or even your local plaid pantry. We also request that anybody who's feeling the desire to shoot off a weapon in any way merely just put their finger in their mother's nostril for approximately 33 minutes, and that should solve that issue. So, please take care of that.
I'd like to make a disclaimer that do not listen to that last bit of advice. No psychological professional would ever suggest that will help you if you're having murderous impulses.
I want to suggest that if you live in a state where it's legal, go do what you got to do before you pick up a gun. Two, if you're feeling sad or depressed or suicidal, call somebody before you pick up a gun. There's all kinds of 800 numbers.
Or at the very least, have the common courtesy just to kill yourself privately and not take everyone out with you. It seems like all these school shootings, they're all like pretty suicidal, right?
Greg, you're asking for courtesy from mass murderers.
But you get that though from these school shootings. They're basically guys who want to die. Mm-hmm. That's what I get. It's like they know there's no outcome. Like, I'm going to escape and then move to Mexico or move to Costa Rica, and I got my rocks off, and now I get to move. It seems like they all want to die. Like, they're like, yep,
suicide,
this is the way I'm going to go out.
Suicide by cop is an option. And,
yeah.
you know, when you think about just sitting there lonely and pathetic in your shitty little apartment and blowing your brains out, or going out in some weird blaze of glory, even if it's innocent kids, it seems more exciting to do it that way, I guess, if you're
I think Greg's concept, though, of them having the courtesy to do it themselves is kind of pie in the sky, that they're going to be that aware of other human beings.
People used to do that, though. People want to commit suicide, they commit suicide. They slash their
and people still do that, Greg. And
yeah,
plenty of people are still offing themselves on their own.
Now we have like 10% of the population who are like, oh, I want to kill myself. I'm taking 20 kids out with me.
Right, but what my point is that asking them not to do it is not going to stop them from doing it.
I am not
because they want to do it.
I'm not going to ask them. I'm just curious why.
Well, you did. You're saying that they should have the courtesy to just do it.
Yeah, they should have the courtesy. But they don't. I'm not going to ask them about it. I'm going to say, why is this happening? Why
Actually, I'm going to make a plea to everyone listening out there who's planning on shooting an entire school up. Could you please actually talk to Greg first before you begin? Because you might have a bigger target after you talk to Greg.
I am not qualified suicide counsel.
Go after an armory, a National Guard armory instead. So
they don't have any. They have not established any sort of motive for this nut job that shot up the school in Texas, right? Because it wasn't anything racially motivated. Like I know there was some racial motivation, maybe at the guy that went in and shot up the grocery store before that. But they've got nothing. It was a very, I think, heavily populated Hispanic town, tiny small town. He's Hispanic, and he just goes and screws up his grandma, and then gets in the car and drives to town and kills kids. But there was nothing. You know what I mean?
Well, like there was a shooting today, right? 5 people were killed, including the gunman, who just attacked a hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And he went into the 2nd floor, and he shot people who were both staff and patients. So it's like
what the 2nd floor was.
That was the orthopedic facility.
Fuck you and your bones. I was thinking maybe it was the psych ward, and he was like a patient. You know what I mean? And he'd come back.
It's very possible. And the thing is, he didn't have an automatic weapon though. He had a rifle and a handgun.
Like God intended.
What's that?
I said like God intended.
Right. This was an African-American gentleman between the ages of 35 and 40. Okay. He was killed by what they think was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So maybe he didn't like his recent surgery or something. And he's like,
I came here to get my tonsils off.
And you removed the toe.
You sawed off my leg, you bastards.
Right. So I'm hopping in here to take you out.
No, the real thing was he doesn't actually have health care. And he got the bill from the hospital. And he's like, I'm just going to go kill these people.
Why couldn't he have just done a very strongly worded yelp?
A yelp?
That was the case.
Yeah. Maybe he did. Maybe he just wasn't getting enough attention. Too many people are yelping positive things about the same place. And he couldn't handle it.
$70,000 and he gets like 10 Turkish bots. Beep, 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 beep. This hospital's great. I love this place. Oh, my kid was happy.
They're Turkish bots.
Yeah, you can buy them.
You can tell from the accent?
No, you can tell usually by the bad grammar if they write more than
this
one
hospital, number 1, okay. This hospital, awesome, cool, great.
No.
Yeah, but you talk like that normally, Greg. You're not Turkish.
Turkey has a fairly decent amount of very English literate people.
Yes.
For a very low price,
For a very interesting looking bird.
Unless, I think the Filipinos wouldn't probably play that game. I think they're a little more,
This could be our sponsor for today.
Do Filipinos eat turkey?
No, they don't know what it is. I have a number of Filipinos I work with overseas, and it was coming up like the first Thanksgiving. I'm like, oh, hey, it's Thanksgiving. They're like, oh, that's cool. How is that in America? And I'm like, oh, and I took a picture. I'm like, you ever had a turkey? And I was literally getting real. I mean, I've been working with these people for years. They're like, it's like a big chicken, and I'm like, yeah, it's a big chicken, but it does taste different from chicken. So no, they don't have
small ostrich.
Or small ostrich. Yeah. So apparently, at least the Filipinos that I worked with, they were not. I mean, they knew what it was, they knew the tradition, they knew everything about it, but they had never had one in their life.
Well, I think this is the perfect time for us to ask this guy something.
He has an opinion, may not always be right. He's a real fake lawyer. He's old and he's white. Ask him a question, 'cause he's a good egg. For bogus advice, ask Greg. Ask Greg? Ask Greg!
I just can't seem to get enough of that little jingle.
Well, that's nice.
Yes. It always puts me in a good mood to ask Greg.
It's a nice jingle. I agree. Your wife has a fantastic voice.
Well, and not just that, but just the fact that the whole delivery of it for Greg is what.
Oh no, it's perfect.
And what it anticipates for me is his wisdom in the legal arena. That is
true.
What I feel the best about. So, Brendan, what do we have letters in from our listeners that have an appropriate legal question for Greg today?
Let me check the box.
Okay, yes. Check the box.
And look up Pearl Jam while you're at it, Grunge Daddy. Stone Temple Pilots.
Here's an interesting one.
Yes.
Dear Greg, I recently bought tickets for Pearl Jam through an internet site called Ticketmaster. And apparently they charged close to $20 in something called service fees. So while at the concert, I threw shit at the band and requested that they give me the $20 back. I was escorted out. I had a little bit to drink, but not too much. And I am now held in county lockup because none of my friends can make bail because they all bought their concert tickets through Ticketmaster as well, and now they're all broke. Can I sue Ticketmaster? And what would be and what should I do about the shit throwing charge that I have, having thrown shit at the members of Pearl Jam?
So you're talking about literal fecal matter when you say shit.
He says shit, and I'm just going to go with that.
It does sound like a fecal matter.
Yeah, I think it is
a fecal matter.
It's an amber turd of sorts.
There's an Amber Alert for the fecal matter.
Yes, it was an Amber Alert.
Someone has stolen the fecal matter and taken it across state lines.
For legal matter.
Your cell phone goes off.
Poop has been stolen from Colorado.
I don't care.
And is left in a 1973 Woody station wagon.
I was at a meeting. I was at a meeting and everybody's Amber Alert phone thing went off. My phone didn't do its thing, and they all looked at me and they went, "Your phone didn't go off."
And he said, "That's because I have the child."
No, I said, because I turned that shit off.
I ain't gonna go looking for no missing children.
They all looked at me like, "You uncaring bastard." And then one guy raised his hand. He's like, "Can you show me how to do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
And then they fired you. Like,
all right, I'm sorry. I caused this digression, Greg. Please do answer the legal question with your generous acumen.
It's two parts. One is the suing of Ticketmaster for these trumped up service charges.
Yeah.
One. Two, what does he do about this shit throwing charge?
Well, service charges aren't against the law. It's just capitalism at work. So you're a sucker. You're an idiot for doing it. Whoever you are, you can give me a name. I'll call him
Schmengi.
Oh, you wanted a name? Hold on, let me look.
Schmengi X.
His name is Peter.
Oh,
Peter.
Of course.
Perfect. Sounds like a Peter. Peter. I mean, that's you can't sue them. You're an idiot for paying that charge. You could have just walked down to the theater and just bought a ticket. Instead of being a lazy ass and being like, I'm going to do it on my internet and pay Ticketmaster. So that's your fault. But throwing fecal matter is that could cause disease and shit. So that's like attempted assault.
It's attempted assault.
But his question is, he did it it was sort of a crime of passion, if you will.
Yeah.
And he's wondering if there's some way he could, not serve jail time for throwing shit at.
He has to throw himself on the mercy of the judge and try not to shit during the trial and throw it at anyone. That's important.
No throwing of shit. Yeah. Okay.
So does he have to go before fecal court and see a fecal judge?
Yeah, and he should probably take something that
Fecal court.
Yeah,
the fecal court
has adjourned.
He should probably take a drug that makes you not have to shit, that suppresses your urge to shit.
So you just bind up like a bunch of cheese, maybe?
Yeah, something binding. Yeah, meat.
Like the illegal ammunition that my laws will be enacted, and they can use that as a proper suppository of.
No, just shove a bullet up his ass.
Shotgun cartridges.
I mean, a 9mm shell is, it's not real big. Should he get something like a 12 gauge, maybe?
A couple of them, or slug, like a deer slug.
If you threw shit at me, I would want you to be in jail myself, just personally. I don't know if that's necessarily legal.
But don't you think they might have a sympathetic ear because it was Ticketmaster? And it is Pearl Jam we're talking about. It's not.
It's kind of your fault.
It's not one of those New Jack jazz people. Where those fucking people were.
New Jack suburb.
The New Jack Jungle Gym people.
Yeah, I would.
Anyway, all right. I think I've got this wrapped up.
That's my legal opinion.
Greg says, "Go fuck yourself." Okay, I hit send.
I'm glad you sent it. That was good.
Yeah, it's gone. I need to get a little email like whoosh sound.
All right, so the client, just to remind everybody, is gun control is fun control. So what exactly does that mean? Does it mean that if your guns are controlled, you lose fun? Your fun is controlled. You no longer have to have fun anymore?
Well, if they have sensible gun laws where people who have just like when you drive a car, you have to get a test. I mean, they don't just give the right to drive a car to anyone. Like, oh, you want a car? Sure, drive around. Murder people.
Yeah, but they don't give mental tests to people to drive cars. You just have to pass a written test.
We have to pass a driver's test.
But if you have a driver's test and you're psychotic, I'm sure it'll come out during the driver's test.
No, not necessarily. Somebody could hold in their psychosis for half an hour.
But
happens all the time. Look at Congress.
But it's not more regulated.
It's something.
There's some regulations to driving in America. You can go to a gun show with the loopholes there and just be like, "Hey, here's my ID. I can buy an AK-47. No background check. You're just good to go." And
I should go to the gun show in Tampa.
Get an AK-47?
No, just like I'll just bring my phone and record shit and just talk to people. I think it would be. I'll send it to you. Like if I can figure out how to go and it's not too much money.
This would be a good episode.
If there was a place I could buy an AK-47, I'll come like, oh, you got an AK-47. I think it would be classic, especially again.
Especially if you wear your Elmer Fudd hat that you're wearing right now.
Oh, I'll wear this hat for sure. And I have my.
Oh, you got some patriotic pants.
Oh, hell yeah. Holy, they'll sell you a missile launcher if you want.
I'm telling you. I'll go in there dressed like this.
You need to get yourself a nice piece of chaw at the same time when you walk in there. Do some ding.
Come in with a cigar or something.
Yeah, you could do that. Chomp on a cigar a bit. But some chaw, a good wad of chaw in the jaw goes a long way in situations like this. In terms of just developing that camaraderie with those who work with the smell of machinery.
I don't want to sound like Lefty Lucy
weapons.
Again, like I always do. I'm always Lefty Lucy on the show, but
you say you don't want to, but that's a lie.
I can't help it. I can't
help lying. You mean?
No, it's not lying. I can't help being smart and a logical person, but it's. Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a drunk idiot.
What is going on?
But when it comes to my politics, it's all about practicality and logic. And none of this would happen if our government wasn't fucking legalized bribery. And the NRA has so much power where they're so afraid of the slippery slope where somebody, even probably 90% of the NRA members would probably be like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have AK-47s. But they all basically say, oh, if we give that up, then they'll start attacking this. Then they'll go down and down until we can barely have a hunting rifle. That's the NRA's.
They'll all come down. They'll take their slingshots away.
Yeah, exactly. The NRA is very about the slippery slope. I've read their shit. They're very. So they take the hard line. Every time there's a school shooting, they run out there. They have all their lawyers lined up. Be like, don't attack guns.
I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you that the boogeyman that is the NRA is not the old boogeyman that was the NRA. Wayne LaPierre, I guarantee you, will be going down amid a whole bunch of shit. Internal, not like somebody coming at him, but misappropriation of funds, a whole bunch of shit. That guy is just a piece of shit. And they're only going to start to fall away from their old NRA. I think.
Well, I hope they listen to reason. I mean, basically, they've been like in this deluded world of just like, no, slippery slope.
That's Wayne LaPierre. I'm telling you,
that's gun. You
that's
can't
Wayne
ban a missile
LaPierre.
launcher because that's the slippery slope.
It's Wayne LaPierre, and he basically was the chief of staff for Dick Armey. I met this clown. He was a piece of shit back then. He can't be any better now.
Yeah, especially when he was with Dick Armey.
I know, I mean, come on. He was the chief of staff for Dick Armey, who's now dead, I think. I think Dick died.
Dick died. Pretty sure Dick died. His Newt's still around. You never hear about Dick anymore.
No, I think Dick is dead. He smoked pretty heavily and drank real heavily. There was multiple times where I would be part of the advance team, and he was coming in to speak as well as other Republican congressmen, and I would have to fucking Altoid his ass because I could smell the fucking booze 6 feet away.
You Altoided his ass. What is that?
Altoided his.
What? Did you like flick one in his mouth or something?
I would in front of all of his entourage, I would take out an Altoid, I would pull it out, and I'd go, Congressman, and I would literally pop it in his mouth and go, I can smell it from here. And he's like, is it that bad? I said, it kind of is, sir. He's like, well, thanks. Can I have another one? And I would give him more Altoids. I did this like 3 different times. Like, he came to know me. Hey, it's the Altoid guy. And I'm like, yeah, come over here. I'm fucking drunk.
Well, now we got that cock Navy guy.
So if anybody wants to know, Dick Armey was House Majority Leader of the U.S. House of Representatives for 8 years. Yep. And he was one of the engineers of the Republican Revolution of the 1990s when the Republicans had majorities of both houses of Congress. He was one of the chief authors of the Contract with America. And this is the guy that Brendan has been shoving Altoids at. So to give that a little perspective about your friendly neighborhood member of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker, that's what Brendan did. He gave Altoids to Republicans.
That was his job.
That's right.
It didn't pay
That's what
well.
he was hired for. He was hired to give them breath mints.
That was nephew Cock Navy is in charge.
Oh, you used that joke whenever Brendan first came on. Greg, you can't use that one again.
What?
Okay, how about
the Cock Navy joke?
Penis Marines.
No, it's Testicle Space Force.
Chode Air Force.
Chode Air Force. Testicle Navy.
No, it's Space Force. Testicle Space Force. It was
so
Cock
you
Navy.
remember like 2 years ago I actually said Cock Navy?
Yes, I remember it. I remember you going for the low-hanging fruit.
It's a classic chestnut. That's what it's an archetype.
If you're going to say classic chestnut, you need a deeper voice.
What? Chestnut.
Right. You have to say it with more gravitas, Greg. If you're going to say
a classic chestnut.
That's much better.
That's the only way you can say those words now.
I felt that actually throughout my rib cage when you said it that way. It it vibrated through my body, Greg, like a.
This is Charlton Heston.
Being near a human tuning fork.
Chestnut.
A classic chestnut brought to you by me, Charlton Heston. Beyond the grave.
Who's a big NRA guy, right?
Charlton Heston. Didn't he run the NRA for a brief period of time?
He was like their celebrity spokesperson. Right? Yeah. He was the, you'll pry my gun from my cold dead hand.
Right.
He was that guy.
And the funny thing is that he was a major liberal for most of his life as well. And then in his later years, he became
There's some liberals who like
staunch
guns,
conservative. Yeah, it's true.
Oh, was on top of guns. He was a conservative all across the board.
Yeah.
It wasn't just guns.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like
that.
Yeah,
no, there are liberals that like guns, for sure.
Sure, of course. We have them in Oregon. I mean, people are outdoorsy. They like to shoot cans off logs.
Yeah, I'm not a real hunter, but I think that, if you're into that sort of thing and it's done responsibly and, there's too many deers, fucking go shoot them, whatever. It's fine.
Well, Matt would have starved as a child if there was no hunting allowed.
That's not true.
You wouldn't have eaten squirrel.
No, my dad would have starved as a child.
Oh, your dad, yeah.
I wouldn't have starved.
Yeah, your dad would have starved, I meant to say. Sorry.
We went squirrel hunting by choice.
By your choice?
Not by my choice. It was by dad. I remember the first time we went out hunting, and the first time I had gone out hunting, we got woken up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, why am I being woken up now? Like, I don't understand. And then we got to put on like camouflage outfits and like take shotguns, and we go tramping through the very wet, not jungle, forest that we're going through. So I'm just like miserable the whole time I'm doing this. And I'm like, this is not fun for me at all.
This is the time you fell asleep in the deer blind.
No, that's a different story. That was many years later.
I just heard that. I was re-listening to some old episodes, and there's so much confusion about, like, Matt, why were you asleep during a hunt?
And we weren't in a deer blind. We were like by different trees, so we weren't even
you
together.
You just fell asleep on the ground.
I just fell asleep because I was freaking tired. You know, got up too damn early in the morning to go do this.
How old were you?
Then I was in either 8th or 9th grade when I fell asleep in the woods.
Okay, so like 14, 15, something.
Yeah, somewhere around there. That was when we were living in Bremerton. So that's when we went. Was it pheasant hunting and deer hunting was when we were in Bremerton.
Did you just drive up some preserve or something? And
I think my dad may have known places where you could go hunting.
Go do that sort of thing?
You know, I know that the places where we shot pheasant was, they were stocked with pheasants, so it was like designed for people to go out pheasant hunting. But the deer place, I think it may have just been someplace you knew to go to. But either way, you know, once I really thought about it, well, after that moment, my dad never took me out hunting again. It was either that moment or the time when we were driving back from a deer hunt where we didn't see anything all day, and then there was a deer right in front of us, and he had told me to put a weapon in the cab of the truck, and I did. I put a weapon in the cab of the truck, but I didn't put any ammunition in it, and because I believed in gun safety, and that's what I was taught at the gun safety class was you don't have a loaded weapon in the cab of the truck.
No, that's true. You're right.
So he's like, well, get the gun. I'm like, well, it's not loaded. He's like, what? He's like, where's the ammunition? I'm like, yeah, it's in the back. He's like, son of a bitch. And so, you know, the deer stays in front for a while as my dad gets out. He goes to the back. By the time he comes back with his loaded weapon, the deer is gone. And I'm sitting there going, hallelujah, because I don't want to skin that damn thing or do whatever needs to be done with it. So.
It would be a better story if you had some ninja throwing stars in the cab.
Yeah, but it would have been a better story if it was another human being who was in it.
No, it's a great story because it's one of those things where it's like you were doing what was right by safety standards, but you were really just punching your dad in the face at the same time. So the question is, what was really the true motivation for Matt? Kind of punching his dad in the face or being Captain's safety guy?
Well, I don't think it was any resentment toward my dad. I mean, looking back on it, I think my
deer,
real motivation was, you know, he said put a weapon in the front of the car, so I did that. You know, like I took the literal.
You didn't, right, but you didn't think for a second that he wanted you to do that because he wanted a loaded gun because you hadn't shot a deer earlier.
No, I think it really came down to I really didn't think there was any reason for us to have a weapon. I didn't think we were going to see a deer on the way back. I really, you know, so I'm like, all right, well, I'll just put the thing in the front, and that'll be that, and it'll be no big deal. But instead, you know, it worked against me, so I'm like, oh well. So, although I love venison, so there's that.
You had serendipity deer that just sort of appeared out of nowhere. You're like, God damn it. Who would have predicted that?
That is a special type of deer I've heard, the serendipity deer.
The serendipity, yeah. They're very
serendipity deer. That's right. You don't see them often, but they arrive.
But
all right. Well, I think this is a good time where maybe we should play that commercial one more time to remind people of what's happening in 2 weeks. Should we play it again?
We can do it next week, right?
Well, yeah, of course. But I'm saying the more times people hear it, the more that'll help them remember.
Okay, if you must.
I'm just saying, should we? I'm asking. If you don't want to,
I say no.
You say no. Brendan, what is your opinion?
I remember an hour ago.
Brendan doesn't care.
I want more drunk history from Professor Petrix. Jefferson was a good guy. Other than the slave fucking stuff, it was.
Let's talk about the War of the Roses right now.
No, let's not.
All right. Well, this has been another edition of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. And you got extra special bickering in the beginning of this episode, everybody. Don't forget, June 15th, Wednesday, June 15th at 5 p.m., we will have our live show with the Quibbly Awards. And it should be thrills and chills and all sorts of excitement. On June 15th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, and airing live exclusively on YouTube, the Step Up to the Bar Association Legal Conference and Awards Banquet will host the second annual Quibbly Awards. Coveted by celebrities and common folk alike, the Quibblys are unusual in that they are TFTs, totally fungible tokens, so anyone can do whatever they want to them. There's no naked Uncle Oscar, no science fiction Emmy, no golden globulars, only Lady Justice peeking through her blindfold and a name on a virtual certificate. Brendan Haggerty, Greg Pettix, and Matt Parashi, the beloved triumvirate of the celebrated podcast, Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker, will be the MCs. Many words will be used, but none can predict exactly what those words will be. So remember, Wednesday, June 15th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube. Come out for the second annual Quibbly Awards.
Are number one in my book.
Well, I'm speechless and I'm also disappointed.
I haven't had this much excitement since I was named Miss Warsaw.
And I appreciate the fact that you guys find me the best anything.
Your consultation with the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker has ended. You may pay your retainer at www.qsblaw.org. Please exit to the right of the water cooler and grab a candy from the front desk. We hope to see you again soon, but you need to leave now. I said leave. Why don't they ever listen? Get out! Get out!